When people ask, "How are you?" people tend to say, "I'm fine. I'm okay." When in reality, fine and okay means so many other things. They can mean, "I'm good. I am great. I'm just exhausted. I feel lonely. I feel rejected, annoyed, defeated, useless." People all over the world suffer with self-esteem issues. They suffer with depression. Many people struggle with body shaming, eating disorders, and some people even get to the point of hurting themselves because they feel that pain is much more better and much more easier than the pain that they feel inside of their heads and their hearts. Now, depression and self-esteem issues come into play in the poem found by Ronni Merriweather. The author expresses her views on beauty by relating her life to how others might see themselves in order to really make a point and make people realize that they shouldn't focus on their flaws, but instead inner beauty. The author develops these points through various things such as compound sentences, figurative diction, and a sentimentally somber tone. Now, before we dive in, I'm going to read the poem, and then we will analyze and see what Ronni Merriweather goes through and how she uses this effectiveness to really convey her message. Found by Ronni Merriweather. I know I'm smiling, but don't take it as for what it seems. 'Cause the only time I'm happy is when I'm in my dreams. 'Cause my life is that lonely kid cast out in the shadows, full of tears, frowns, and many lost battles. Down in a black hole, trying to escape depression. But you can't run away from what will always be your reflection. And as you run away, reality is getting nearer. And instead of changing you, you try to change the mirror. But what do you do when the mirror falls down, breaking apart as it hits the ground? And now, you have nothing to hide behind. And now, you need the courage you have yet to find. Because fear and sorrow are just emotions that play tricks on your mind, trying to prevent you from making your life and dreams intertwine. But instead of giving in, you try to break out, rebuilding the happiness that fear and sorrow take out. Because the obstacles you have aren't important. It is about how you handle it. Because fear can only be as bad as you imagine it. And sorrow comes with tears, just as gray clouds come with rain. And then it will pass quicker than it came. So just be proud you didn't cut yourself with the mirror's glass. And just know that the worst already passed. But if you look in the mirror again, look with open eyes. So if you don't like the out, you can take a look inside. So, right at the beginning, Merriweather develops her opinion and she begins her poem with compound sentences. And she uses this to emphasize her emotions. She uses sentences such as, "I know I'm smiling, but don't take it as for what it seems," to really emphasize and express and juxtapose what she feels versus what others see. She begins her poem with that first sentence by using that conjunction "but" in order to really show that people may see her one way, but in reality she feels another way. And this comes very important into play because it expresses the point of view of the poem. It expresses that no matter what others see, you yourself have the last opinion, and you yourself is what should be valued, and what's inside should be valued the most. Merriweather also uses the sentence, "Down in a black hole trying to escape depression, but you can't run away from what will always be your reflection," to really show that her thoughts are completely different than what she really tries to be. That no matter how hard someone tries to be positive or think positive, it's really hard when you feel a certain way inside. And this really comes back to her main point about how you should look into inner beauty and about how you should notice and focus on what's good of you and not your flaws. Don't focus on what you see of yourself, but truly what you are and what you value, because that's what's more important at the end of the day. Another thing the author uses to really express her point of view and to bring in inner beauty is figurative diction. She uses this to compare her emotions to everyday objects in order to really express her point of view. For example, in line 5, she uses the sentence, "In a black hole trying to escape depression." This is an example of a metaphor for how she feels and how she feels trapped with her own mind. By using the words black hole instead of just a dark place, she creates a stronger connection with the readers, and it sets a really sad and depressing mood for the poem. It shows that she herself feels like she's trapped in this dark black hole, and as we all know, you can't really get out of black holes, so it's a very important metaphor. She also uses similes like, "And sorrow comes with tears just as gray clouds come with rain," to express how she feels sad and to show how that compares to rain and to gray clouds, to really emphasize her point of view and to really emphasize the fact that she cannot escape how she feels, and she just feels like she's trapped in this world of depression filled with bad, negative thoughts, that it just always feels like she has gray clouds with her, and that the sorrow and the tears just come normally whenever you see, just like when you see gray clouds with rain. Both of these and both figurative diction are really important, especially because at the beginning of the poem, the author begins with talking a lot about depression and how she feels by setting the mood with these figurative diction examples, but then she shifts it and she begins to go a little bit more towards the optimistic side, and she says, but instead of that, you give in and you break out and you start to rebuild the happiness, that fear, that sorrows that takes out. So she really creates a shift that is important and that is valuable in this poem, because it expresses that even though you're going through depression, you can overcome it if you look at the positive side and if you don't let those obstacles define you. Lastly, Merriweather uses a sentimentally somber tone to express her point of view and to bring it back to the fact that others may see themselves some way, but you should realize that you shouldn't focus on your flaws, but instead your inner beauty. Throughout her poem, she begins with using words like tears, frown, black, to really express how she feels and how negative her mind is. She uses sentences like full of tears, frowns, and many lost battles to show that sentimental and somber tone, to express that she has no will and she sees herself in this bad place. I think that the sentimentally somber tone is very important to the poem because it brings in the mood and it brings in readers to really empathize and to really pay attention to Merriweather's words. When I first read this, I really was inclined to it because all these negative words that really stick to you and that really shock you at first when you read it, because you get so dragged and so sucked in into trying to understand how she felt and what she's going through. Overall, I think that this poem is really effective and it's a really good poem, especially for modern poets, because it has repetition and it rhymes and it has a lot of important aspects such as tone and shift. Shift is a very point that is established in this poem. At the beginning, she begins very depressed and very negative, and towards the end, she ends it with a positive outcome, and she says, but if you look in a mirror again, look with your eyes open. So if you don't like the out, you can take a look inside. So it's showing you and it's telling you that, what's important is your inner beauty, and what's important is how you feel inside, and your true beauty is always going to be in the inside. It doesn't matter what others see of you, it doesn't matter what others think of you, and it doesn't matter if your mind is going to all these dark places, because at the end of the day, every single one of these people and every single one of this person's, you or anyone, is beautiful from the inside. And that is really what makes an important person. And I think that Ronni Merriweather really established this point of view by expressing her story and by sharing her story with us in order to really come to that point of view that it doesn't matter what others might think or what others might see, because you need to realize your inner beauty, and you need to realize that your flaws aren't as important, because you are beautiful and your inner beauty is beautiful.